this is going to be the end of the undefeated streak 4. Alright, welcome back to another video over here on SCS Combat, and today I'm going to be giving you my official prediction for Lerone Murphy versus Movsar Evloev going down this weekend in UFC London. The main event. What a fight this is going to be. Two undefeated top prospects, two undefeated top contenders. What a scrap this is going to be. Let's get into it. So Murphy's number 3 ranked, Evloev is number 1 ranked. Evloev, I believe, is 19-0. Murphy is 17-0-1. Make sure to subscribe and come back because I will be live this weekend for this fight, UFC London, Evloev versus Murphy. I'll be live. Come back, check it out. Both of their last fights, Evloev coming off a really impressive victory over Aljamain Sterling. It was a very close fight. Could have went either way, maybe. Evloev did get it, however, via 29-28 unanimous decision. Very close rounds, very intricate grappling, high level grappling display though, and it's very entertaining. And I just rewatched it. I think the big thing with Evloev's grappling is a lot of times he wasn't necessarily shooting the takedowns, he was reversing, which is interesting, but we'll get more into that in the later part of this video. Obviously, then him being 19-0, the number 1 contender, but hasn't fought in a year. Lerone Murphy is just coming off the back of an absolutely insane spinning elbow KO, and he puts Arm Pico out about as cold as you can go. He was there, and with that moving him to 17-0-1, then pretty much the only topic of conversation was Lerone Murphy getting his title shot. But you know, there was a huge shift in the landscape of MMA, and along comes the Paramount Plus era, and we end up getting, which a lot of people didn't like at the time, was Volkanovski versus Lopez 2. We'll talk about Lopez a bit in here as well, but Murphy put to the side from that title shot. That gave us enough time. Volk's older now, he'll need more time to recover. No shot at the GOAT, that's just probably the truth. He got the win, obviously retained his title. That fight being booked gave us enough time for Evloev against Murphy, and you had to book that fight immediately. You had to book that fight because 19-0 against 17-0, it doesn't get any higher level than this. It's a title eliminator. Both fighters undefeated. Someone will lose for the first time unless Murphy gets another draw, and it gives us the clearest option. Like, Evloev did deserve it as well, but just not as much in my opinion due to his inactivity and the style of his last victory. Although it was very impressive, what Murphy did is hard to top. So that was my thoughts, but then we get this and now we're here. So starting off, I suppose Evloev is obviously a heavy grappler, loves his wrestling. We see here Evloev loves his takedowns, 87 attempted in the UFC. It doesn't actually say how many he's landed, because it does say he's landed 5 takedowns, but if he's 48% accuracy, I don't think that's how that works. We see here he's also great takedown defense at a 61% rate. That's 10% higher than Murphy, which we'll get into. And he has also a pretty high significant strike defense rate, so that's good for him, I suppose. But then on the other hand, see here he takes 3 significant strikes per minute, lands 4 per minute as well though. He's got a 4 average takedowns for 15 minutes. So like I said, maybe it was just Aljo that was initiating grappler in their fight in my opinion, but Evloev was obviously reversing, scrambling and taking positions. Entertaining and interesting to watch. Murphy on the other hand, one of the most technically perfect strikers in the UFC at the moment in my opinion. Very good technique, very high IQ. Murphy's on a 9-fight win streak and he has 8 wins by knockout, 7 wins come in the first round finishes. So once again, his takedown accuracy is actually higher than Evloev's, but he's not a grappler in my opinion. He has a 54% takedown accuracy, but I don't think he'll be looking to grapple in this. I think among the grapplers at featherweight, Aljo is arguably the best, and Evloev still beat him at that, and he was very advanced in that fight in terms of his positioning and what would be next. Did very good at predicting what would be next. But Lerone Murphy's attempted 1,145 significant strikes, and he's landed 54% of those at 618. So see here, 5 significant strikes per minute. Still does take 2.5 per minute significant strikes, but got good defense on his strikes, and he's got good output on his strikes and good accuracy on his strikes. 1 takedown average per 15 minutes, and he's not really shooting takedowns then. We do see here, very interestingly, he has a 51% takedown defense ratio, so whether that's good for him, I don't think so, because that's on the weaker side. Obviously Evloev is 10% higher than that. I also watched Murphy's last fight against Pico back. Pico was able to take Murphy down pretty much at ease. Murphy was very good at building back up his feet quickly, getting back up quickly, but Pico was getting him down, and he was getting him down easily when he needed to, which is obviously a big telltale sign in a grappler like Evloev. Evloev also put on an insane pace and maintained it and come out the fresher fighter in my opinion against Aljamain Sterling. In terms of his striking defense in that fight, one of the things Aljo was doing earlier in the fight, in the start of the first round, he was the one putting on the striking pressure. Evloev was walking forward a lot, which we'll get into, but Aljo was the one throwing strikes going forward and was able to catch Evloev clean a couple of times. Evloev looks quite cautious on his feet, but Sterling was able to catch him with some good shots on the feet. But that was before the fight pretty much translated into the indoor wrestling match. But I think one thing to be talked as well is, like, Evloev seems to be a pressure fighter. He's a smart pressure fighter. He's not running in like Pico was, but Murphy did deal with that style very well. And Josh Emmett's also another person that Murphy's beat that would probably like to come forward. You pretty much what you have here is one of the best strikers against one of the best wrestlers, and this is going to be a tough one. Obviously, in terms of Murphy being tucked down easily, it's true, through, but he also is quite good at building back up. And you see here per 15 minutes, actually attempts more submissions than Evloev. So in terms of Evloev's ground game, he's pretty much going to have to be concerned about taking shots. Obviously, if he presents himself far too wide open, then Evloev's going to take the submission. So Evloev has 4 submission victories compared to 12 decisions and 3 knockouts. So I think it's fair to say that both these fighters aren't really finishes. Lerone Murphy has 9 finishes, and I think they're all stoppages and not submissions. So no submissions for Murphy. This is an extremely tough fight to pick. It's a close fight, to be honest, and I think this one's very interesting because Murphy's striking is so technical that unless you're like Pico, where you can smother it so easily by just running in and obviously sacrificing your own defense, your own protection, like he did, which obviously led to him getting KO'd. Unless you can do that, Murphy's going to be able to see a lot of things coming. There's an interesting point here, I suppose. But both fighters being undefeated, you look at who's come closer to losing, which in my opinion is Evloev. Now, when you look at who Evloev has fought, Sterling, these are his closer fights, really. Sterling, Allen, Lopez, who obviously turned out to be elite. I mean, we knew he was good after that fight, considering how close it was at one point, and I think he near submitted Evloev. But when it comes to those 3 fights compared to Murphy's last 3 fights, when you're looking at Pico, who, although it was a great win for Murphy, if we're going to be honest here, 13-4 record, 13-5 now, coming over from Bellator. Bellator fighters are questionable these days. Unfortunately, we have come to learn that. Fighters like Pachi Mix and Pitbull, who just froze up completely in his debut as well. So I feel like that automatically goes below any of the wins that Evloev's having. We'll look at the last 3 here because I feel like they're all valuable. Murphy versus Amit. I mean, that was a clean decision victory over a great fighter, but obviously Amit is towards the end of his career. Especially at that stage, that was only in the middle of last year, so it's not like Amit was probably coming off a good. Amit was still a good fighter, but Murphy was obviously far younger, far more technical, and probably just far better at this age. Dan Ige dropped Lerone Murphy. Evloev beat him as well. So Evloev has definitely always come closer to losing. It's because he's fought way higher level competition, and I do think Murphy against the likes of those people. I think Murphy against Sterling would be very interesting. I think Murphy against Lopez would be very interesting. Murphy against Allen would be very interesting. I think he would beat Allen. Murphy versus Lopez and Sterling is where we start to get close. When you ultimately look in terms of competition, Evloev has the better wins. And the thing is with Aaron Pico, the grappling level, we know now the level of his fighting overall just probably isn't UFC level, considering. Trust me, if Aaron Pico comes back against the right person, he's going to get some nasty highlight reel KOs, but not at the highest level again, in my opinion. And I don't think his wrestling is also to be compared to some extraordinary high level. Don't think he would beat Evloev in a grappling match. So this is a tough pick. I just think over 5 rounds, I think Evloev will find a way to get him down. I think Lerone Murphy maybe controls range brilliantly at the start of the fight, and maybe Evloev struggles to get the takedown first. But I think once it comes to a point where if he knows he's losing on the feet, he goes to that grappling, and I think Evloev will get him down. And at that point, he does great damage. I don't think he's gonna finish him. If Evloev finds a way, I think that's when he starts to get on Murphy and then beats him in a close decision over these 5 rounds like he has been doing. I think compared to Pico, Evloev's grappling in terms of pretty much knowing what your next move is so much more advanced, and in my opinion that will stop Murphy from being able to build back up. So I'm going to pick Evloev here. In my opinion, this is going to be the end of the undefeated streak for Lerone Murphy. I think Movsar Evloev is going to go on to win this fight via decision. I think his grappling is going to be too good, and I think he's going to be alright on the feet. I don't think his pressure is enough to run on to something at the way Pico did, or get caught colded. Murphy's had a knee KO as well. There was a flat line, but then there his opponent's going into takedown. I feel like Lerone Murphy's accuracy is so good that he can catch you clean on your way in, but you have to be going in with a lot of momentum. Obviously a takedown something Evloev is going to try on a knee, something Murphy's going to throw. I just don't think he's going to get him with it. My pick Movsar Evloev to get it done and to go on to fight Alexander Volkanovski later this year. That would be crazy. In the main event of UFC London, I have Movsar Evloev. Let me know who you have down below in the comments. Do you believe the miracle gets it done once again, or do you think that Evloev is going to potentially bring another belt back to Russia? Co-main event Luke Riley, I think he'll probably win. To prefer the fight before that, they've given Michael Van Page Sam Patterson, who, no offense to him, but I haven't heard of him, and they're clearly doing it because MVP's been speaking out against them. But let me know who you have down below in the comments. Like, subscribe, follow for more Instagram, Twitter, TikTok.